Welcome everyone to our first Network Convergence. I hope that your new year is off to a great start. And if you're confused by the name, no worries. We'll explain what a Network Convergence is. We've been exploring with some alternative nomenclature today, but I'm super excited to catch up with all of you. And some of you might have been involved with the Network First Manifesto community for the last months, might have been at the last ratification events on August 13. Some of you might have just joined the Network First Manifesto and might be wondering what all this is about. So no worries, we're going to basically explain what this initiative is. And thank you all for joining today. So let's get started. Let's start by explaining what is a network convergence, especially in comparison with the traditional all hands meeting, right? So a network convergence, it's explained here, it brings the network together to increase visibility, share context and connection across the active network, and the project catalyst or project leads share updates, explore proposals, and collaborate openly. So what we're trying to create here is a more network decentralized alternatives to traditional all hands meetings. Okay, this particular event today, which will be taking place on the second Monday of each month, comes from a proposal that was first approved by the community with 25 votes or more. The proposal specifically was for all hands meetings, and then that led to a project on the Slack workspace that was merged into the Network First Events project. And basically, there has been a group of about 15 to 20 founding members that we've been working together over the last weeks to prepare and organize today's event, right? So looking forward to getting your feedback and iterating it together down the road. And this is the agenda for today. Again, we can adjust in real time as we see fit, but basically the idea is to give a very quick overview of the Network First Manifesto. For those of you that just joined and didn't have the opportunity to interact with the Slack channel yet or with any other events, and we will explain very briefly as well the current operational model and how we transition basically from the 30-day challenge that many of you might remember to the current model that we have today. And then we're going to have a super exciting section where basically any project catalyst, any members that are leading specific projects that have been already approved by the community will have an opportunity to share the work that they've been doing in their respective projects. And it will be also a great opportunity for you to join those projects if any of you is interested. A challenge that we had lately is that many members are not familiar with Slack. So hopefully this will be an opportunity to see other people in the community. And even if you don't like to use Slack, but you join one of the projects with the links that we will be sharing, you will be automatically invited to the regular meetings on your calendar for those projects, right? So it's a way to engage with those projects even without using Slack. And then after that, which we're going to have basically about 6 to 8 presentations of 5 minutes from the project catalysts. Then we are going to have an opportunity for anybody that submitted a proposal to defend it in front of the community. And we will also share the links to vote for the proposals. So some of those will materialize, will be approved by the community and will become new projects. And then that will be the first hour. The second hour will have first 30 minutes of breakout rooms so we can network with each other and work together on a Miro if we want. That has been prepared by Miguel. And then we'll have the last 30 minutes completely open discussion, right, to talk about any topic that the community wants to bring. Okay, sounds good? Any questions? We're trying to do this as decentralized as possible, right? We just had to have the minimum level of centralization to make it operational. So thank you for your patience. Perfect. So let's start. For those of you that are new to the Network First Manifesto, let's start with a quick overview of what this community is about, right? So the Network First Manifesto, basically, it's a community that is trying to pioneer a future of work that is built on human connection, trust, and collaborative freedom. might have noticed that we are entering an era where AI is basically automating virtually any activity that we're performing. So the question is, what is it that defines us as human, right? And the collective answer that we came up with a few months ago with the early members was that what defines us as human is our ability to connect with each other, and therefore we should create and design systems, tools, and frameworks that amplify that human connection and what we call collaborative freedom, which is really the ability for us to work on something we're passionate about with people that resonate with us and having freedom over our schedule. Something that seems basic, but that unfortunately most people cannot experience in most traditional work environments. So back in August last year, we we crafted a manifesto with 8 principles, which are social beings at our core, social capital network literacy, open and closed network, speed and stability balance, dynamic nature of network, formal and informal networks, managed collaborative demand, and collaborative freedom. This manifesto that was created by the community and approved with a 96% support. And you can find it today on the website of the manifesto along with other resources. Okay, so today we are a community of 500 plus members representing over 300 different companies. And yeah, the community is just growing by the day. Here you have an overview of the organizational endorsements that we got so far. If you don't find your logo there yet, please accept my apologies, and we'll reflect the latest logos as soon as possible. But it takes a lot of manual work to do this in the background, right? So we're trying to catch up as quick as we can. So thank you all really for all the effort you put so far over the last months and for your energy and contribution to all the activities that we've organized. Now let's quickly, not to spend much more time on this, and go to the fun part. Let's talk a little bit about the operational model in the community. So basically, the initial assumption here in the community a few months ago is that we could map the areas of interest of the community and also metrics like the preferred work style, availability to lead an initiative or not, and feed that information to an AI model that would then configure different voluntary groups to work on specific items. And this was a proposal that was submitted and approved by the community. And basically, this was called the 30-day impact challenge. So as part of this challenge, based on the information that was mapped, the AI configured 8 groups of 8 people that work for 30 days on specific deliverables. And there were a series of topics assigned. And just to sum it up, this was a super disastrous experience. I mean, it was just painful to watch, honestly. Like, people were struggling on Slack to just schedule a meeting and, have some basic conversation, just convince people to figure out how to join Slack. It was just painful to watch. And after the 30 days, actually, like just half of the teams were able to deliver something. But interestingly enough, what we noticed is that there were a couple of teams where there were members that were super passionate about the topic that was being proposed for the project. And those teams seemed to do much better than the others. So that helped us iterate to the second model, the current one that we are working with today, still iterating, might not be our final model, but it's the best that we have so far. And the current model consists on the following approach. Basically, like any funding member or any member in the community can submit a proposal at any time about something that he or she wants to be materialized in the community or a specific project they want to work on. And they defend that proposal in front of the community, typically recording 1-minute videos or just explaining it in these type of events as we're going to organize today. And then if the proposal gets 25 votes or more from the community, it gets ratified. It needs to have a majority of support votes, so more than 50%. Okay. And then once the proposal is ratified, there is a project channel created on the Slack workspace. And any member that wants to join that project can join, and they're meeting on a regular basis. And basically, we are so far you'll see that from the 10 projects that were ratified, one is not active, the other one had to drop for personal reasons, but the other 8 are actually active and meeting on a regular basis. And I'm sure that some of you might have already experienced some of these projects, and I hope you had a positive experience. So, with that being said, now we're going to go to the fun part, basically, where our project catalysts are going to share a 5-minute presentation about their project. We can ask them questions. And after each presentation, we're going to also share on the chat the Slack link to join their respective projects. Please remember that those Slack links should not be shared outside of this meeting, right? Because we don't have the ability to filter non-members right now on Slack. But also consider that even if you don't like or hate or you don't use Slack, once you join that project through the link, you will be invited to the meetings. So you don't have to interact with anybody on Slack. You can just join if you like how the project looks like, and then you can interact with the other members through the calendar invite. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for all of you to easily interact with ongoing projects. Sounds good? Perfect. So let's start maybe with the first project, the project Active ONA, and this will be presented by Ivana Petreska. Ivana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Perfect. So let me enable you to share the screen. Let
Perfect. Okay,
me
so
find you over here. Oh, here I see you. Okay, I'm gonna make you co-host,
okay.
and you should be able to
Do a
share
screen
now.
share. Perfect. All right. So, okay, can everyone see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Okay, hold on. What's happening right now? Oh, here we are. Okay. Okay, so thank you for joining everyone this morning. I know some of you are from different types of time zones, so we appreciate you joining in today. So I'll be presenting our active ONA. Back in November, you all received an ONA survey that allowed you to nominate your peers on collaboration and knowledge flow. So we're going to look into the results. Okay, so they activating the network with active ONA, turning lived collaboration into usable signals that help us design better ways of working. So I always like to use analogies when I talk about ONA, and my favorite analogy is actually the city analogy. So a city map shows structure, and a traffic report shows movement. Org charts map roles, and ONA reveals how work actually flows. Okay, so uneven traffic flow. So we see here on the right-hand side this chart, and this chart represents the average nominations by region. So North America received disproportionately higher nominations than the rest of the regions. Europe and Latin America so Europe and Latin America were the secondary hubs, and Asia Pacific showed very low visibility and weak integration when it came to nominations. So if we go back to the city analogy in city terms, there's a heavy congestion in a few downtown corridors, which in this case is North America, Europe, and Latin America, while entire neighborhoods in the outskirts barely connect to the main roads, which in this case would be Asia Pacific. Okay. Okay. And hub dependency and silos. So this chart over here on the right-hand side shows our regional interactions, both inbound and outbound. So most of the information mainly flowed through North America, Europe, and Latin America. So as you can see, they're the biggest piece of the pie here. So North America here, Europe, and Latin America. North America received disproportionately high inbound connections. You can see it here coming from Europe, large inbound connections, a lot from Latin America into North America, and then as well as other regions as well. And the network relies on a few trusted connectors in North America to move work across regions. Asia Pacific remained functionally isolated from global knowledge flows. So there wasn't too much inbound or outbound with Asia Pacific founding members. So again, going back to the city analogy that I love. This is a city where most traffic has to pass through a handful of intersections, which in this case is North America, predominantly with some Europe and Latin America. And it does work until it doesn't. So what do we mean by that? So I'm happy to report that, despite these bottlenecks, the city is not on fire. Our network's not failing, it's just overloaded in some places. So here's some key realizations. So North America's strengths as a knowledge hub is also a systemic risk. So the reason that can be a systemic risk is that we risk burnout from the founding members in North America if all the project hubs and the project catalysts are the same connectors within North America. So there's a risk of burnout and disengagement. So that is something we have to watch for. Asia Pacific's isolation, it's not a performance issue. It's a connection issue. So we just got to better integrate Asia Pacific into the network as they have a lot to offer. And critical knowledge and coordination depend on a small number of individuals, again, primarily in North America. And going back to what I said before, there is a risk of burnout if it's, the same number of individuals where the knowledge hub is. So again, going back to the city analogy, we have to add on ramps before traffic jams form. Traffic rerouting. So here's some recommendations for some immediate changes that we can make. So pairing North American influencers, key influencers with Asia Pacific and Middle East Africa through targeted mentorship so that there's more connections with APAC and Middle East Africa. And also create intentional cross-regional introduction that's tied to real work. And again, with the city analogy, it basically means create new roads between busy intersections and underconnected neighborhoods. Infrastructure investments. This is more a little bit more long-term solutions. So build communities of global communities of practice. Encourage cross-regional projects that don't rely on North America as the default hub, and reduce risk by creating multiple ways for knowledge to move. So again, by putting in these more long-term solutions, we can again avoid the burnout of key influencers. And with the city analogy, what we're saying is create multiple routes between neighborhoods, so between regions, so the city doesn't, in this case, our network doesn't depend on one major intersection, which is in this case is North America. And this is what improves when we redesign the roads of our network. We mitigate risk of burnout of central influencers. We distribute influence, not just workload. We promote diverse thought and processes from different regions, having people from different regional hubs put in their own perspectives. And we foster mutual support systems. So to end it here, what we really have to do is continue trusting our network. There's things to fix, but we just have to redesign some roads in our city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ivana, for putting together this great presentation, and super excited to see the convergence of organizational network analysis and the Network First community. I know that there are many people that are very passionate about O&A in this community. Do you guys have any questions for Ivana before we move forward with the next presentation? If anybody has any question, just please unmute yourself and ask the question now before we move forward. Any? Yes?
Yeah, this is Jaya. Just out of curiosity, really, why is it the collaboration or the network activities so less in Asia Pac? Is it because we are not doing business there too much, or is it so therefore it's not captured, or is it because in general it's just a much more quieter region?
Well,
Mike,
this go ahead.
please, no, please,
Oh
Ivana, go
yeah,
ahead.
so
Yeah.
so this was based on our survey that we put out. So these results on some level do depend on nominations as well. Um, so it was the results of the survey based on nominations. I don't know, Francisco, if you want to add something.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, there's a time zone
Yeah,
difference that
Yeah.
yeah,
impacts, right? Because
absolutely.
sometimes, for
Makes sense.
example, when we organize these type of events at the day and Pacific time, they work for North America and Europe, but it's a bit more difficult for Asian countries. And then
Mhm.
also, there are certain countries in Asia, like China, for example, where there is like less activity on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn
Yeah.
is one of our main hubs. So that also impacts negatively that
Yeah.
option. But hey, if you have any contact that might be interested in Asia Pacific countries, don't hesitate to invite them to the community, and that's the best way to mitigate this, right?
Yeah.
We have let's take one more question before
Thank you.
going to the next presentation. So, well, there are two. Margot says, apart from the regional differences, is there an analysis of the business background of the participants? Do you want to reply to that, Ivana?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, if are we doing an analysis of the business background of the participants? What type of information are we gathering from the participants?
Oh, okay. So the type of information that we gathered from the participants, again, this was survey based. This was based on a survey that we sent out to everyone to all the founding members, and the survey was optional. And the questions really revolved around knowledge flow, who they collaborated with the most, um, how nominating who they hear from the most often, and they were audited for validity.
Yeah, yeah. There's some information that primarily comes from the sign-up form, like for example, the region where you are operating, the
Yep.
city, and not really much more. As you might have seen, the sign-up form is really basic. As we evolve this, probably we'll do something more, and that is related also to the last question from Yuseli that says, what's the measure of success for this project and what's the definition of done? Will this we will this be an ongoing calibration practice? I can maybe quickly reply that so we move to the next project, but really this was just a first exercise where we wanted to be as conservative as possible. Again, this was a proposal that was shared with the community, was ratified by the community, and we didn't analyze the data at individual level, as you might have seen. There was a network that was shown with individual nodes, but without showing the names, so not being able to identify who is who. And will this be an ongoing practice? Well, it really depends on what the community wants, right? I think that it will be interesting since we are exploring the integration of social capital into alternative governance frameworks. It would be interesting maybe to do this exercise every 6 months or 12 months, but ultimately, it's up to what the community wants to do. And if any of you wants to basically be involved in this type of exercises, again, you just have to join the project, and there are weekly meetings where we discuss this on an ongoing basis. So with that said, maybe let's continue. Maybe you can stop
Yep.
presenting. Thank you. And let's continue with the next project. We'll try to keep it, let's try to keep it closer to the 5 minute presentation because we have many projects to cover, right? And we still want to leave space for the open discussion later. So the next one would be the project Connecting Generations by Belén del Campo. Unfortunately, Belén had a conflict today, and she recorded a video so that we could actually see her project. So I'm gonna play the video that she shared with me, and hopefully, and we'll share also the link to join the project, right? Hopefully, with that, you'll be able to get an idea of what the project is about. So let me share here the desktop. Okay. You should see the video now, right? So I'm gonna play it.
Hello guys, nice to meet you. I'm Belen and I'm the owner of the project Connecting Generations, whose main objective is to understand and analyze what separate us and most importantly, what unites us when we talked about generations. So, why I decided to create this project? In today's business environment, generational diversity is increasing more than ever. With it comes changes in working styles, management approaches, and organizational structures. However, generational differences are not only limited to the workplace. In fact, they are also present in our everyday life. For this reason, it is both interesting and essential to understand how different we truly are in order to better understand one another, while also recognizing that we are not always as different as we may think. The methodology we follow within the group is structured as it follows. First, we map the different generations that join the project in order to identify which ones are the most represented and the level of diversity within the Network First Manifesto community. Then we launch a series of questionnaires, monthly questionnaires, covering various areas of interest where we also encourage our participants from the different generations to share their perspective. Finally, based on the results, we hold discussions, meetings when we analyze the results, we exchange views and reflect together. We are currently 22 members and counting, and we have recently started working with the monthly questionnaires. However, even if you join the project in a later stage, you can still complete the questionnaires without any difficulty. So, if any of you are interested in a better understanding, not only
we can see our screen,
but also your own, I encourage you to join the project and also discover the positive impact that understanding can have as a driver for change. Thank you so much, and I'm waiting for you.
I just wanted to copy the link here. Here. Perfect. Sorry for that. Still figuring out the technical details here, but I pasted the link to join Belen's project there. And hopefully with this video, you got a good idea of what the project is about. I've had the opportunity to join several sessions, and I have to say this is a super interesting project, and Belen is putting a lot of energy and enthusiasm, as you can see. So very pity that she could not join today, but hopefully you got an idea with that. Amazing. So let's continue. Since Belen is not here to answer the questions about the project, let's continue with the project from Katarina. And Katarina, again, let's try to keep it to 5 minutes because we have many projects to cover. But Katarina is going to present the project Workplace Design. And again, thank you, Katarina, for designing today's presentation and for designing the background for the Network First Manifesto community. So whenever you're ready, feel free to share.
Let me just, how can I? Okay, you can see my screen, right? Yeah, so my name is Katarina. I am interior designer and project catalyst of Network First Workplace Design. And basically what we wanted to do is to reimagine how workplaces will look like in decentralized organizations, in the organizations of the future. And so that was the main reason why we started this project. It was also like a personal challenge to me, as sometimes as interior designer, I have a tendency to isolate and assume that something should be a certain way. So what I wanted to do is to challenge myself and bring people from different backgrounds and see how they would imagine the workplace of the future. So I would like to thank to all the members that joined my project, but especially to Jaya, Aaron, Zane, and Sudha, which were in all the meetings and very actively participating. And yes, so what we did, basically, we established 2 goals that we want to achieve in 10 weeks. The first one was to create a framework or the engine document that captures like what is behind the scene when creating workplace design, and give this document to all the people that are interested and that would like to implement it in their workplace in the future. And the second one was to create the actual design of a workplace as an example. So this 10-week plan is just to create the prototype, and then after that, what we would like to do is to create a new project that would be actually implementing in some organization. So we started in week 1 with kickoff and introduction. We shared what are our experiences with past workplaces, and then we define in week 2 the ideal future workplace. In week 3, we established the vision, mission, and core principles. And then we develop personas and key user needs. That's where we are right now. And in week 5, what we plan to do is to analyze the existing workplaces. Each member will bring their own picture with their favorite workplace. It could be even AI generated, so something that they really love, and we can basically benchmark based on that. In week 6, we will create a framework, the engine document. Week 7, we want to start creating the workplace design with the floor plan. Week 8, we want to refine the framework based on the actual design and gather feedback, and then present in week 10 the final framework and the final design. So what is our vision? Our vision, we envision a future workplace as a decentralized, interconnected ecosystem accessible from everywhere, where spaces support well-being, seamless collaboration, and personal fulfillment. Work flows effortlessly beyond location barriers, environments adapt intelligently to individual needs, and technology and nature exist in balance. The workplace becomes an experience of wellness, empowering individuals and teams to thrive while staying connected to culture and community. Okay, I'm not going to read everything, but then we created the mission and the core principles, which are very important, which are designing for well-being, designing for collaboration, design with place and environment, design with intelligent ecosystems, and design for culture and community. And for each core principle, we created the description of the concepts that are included and the design elements that will be included in the workplace itself. So you have, for example, for well-being, you have air quality, water and nourishment, natural light, thermal control, etc. Then for collaboration, we have team neighborhoods, collision points, activity zones, project-based collaboration, which is very important in decentralized ecosystems. So the workplace itself will indicate what type of projects are currently working on inside of the workplace, and people can collaborate or engage with the project that they feel identified with. And then for the design with place and environment, we have biophilia, site integration, culture integration and reflection, group symbols as main decor. That's very decentralized as well. So each member can contribute in the decoration itself of the workplace. And then we have the spatial awareness and transparency, adaptive space intelligence. So one idea was to create actually a platform, or having a platform that would suggest you as an individual what type of workplace is good for you based on your sleep score and other metrics that are captured with different wearables. And then design for culture and community. We have basically expression without territoriality, collective identity and shared symbol, psychological safety for innovation, meaningful visibility for work, community as destination. Yeah, so thank you very much. And yeah, everybody can join the project. I'm happy to welcome every type of basically, yeah, everybody. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Katarina, and congrats on the presentation you put together. Again, another super exciting project. I've also been involved in several of the meetings, and there is a group of people that are super passionate about this. And I love there is something so tangible as an actual framework that can be actually used by other companies to adopt or to explore basically what is a network first workplace design. And now super excited. Actually, you will actually be designing an actual workplace as part of the initiative, right? So I shared the link on the comments. Does anybody have any questions for Katarina before we move forward with the next project? If so, please feel free to unmute yourself and let's ask the question or type it on the chat, whatever works best for you.
Ask a question, Sarah, here.
Please.
I'm curious, because I see both elements in what you presented, but I'm curious if like if there's a distinction between, because you're going to actually build a workplace, and I assume that's going to be a physical space.
Yes.
And then do you plan in your project to kind of make a distinction between virtual workplaces or workspaces and physical workspaces? That's my question.
Yeah, we were actually discussing this since we can work from anywhere, right? And virtual workplace, it's the future as well. But this particular project will only focus on the physical workplace, and maybe in the future we can open a new one that will also focus on the virtual one.
Okay.
Amazing. Any other questions for Katarina? Donna has a question, I think. Donna, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Katerina, I saw a long time ago somebody presented a workplace design that took into account introvert, extrovert, styles of thinking and processing, reflecting. And then I was also in the Skype offices in 2012 where they had a couch for people just to chill, and everything was designed around function, like purpose. Here we go to reflect, we recharge, to connect. I just wondered, when I looked at that, I didn't see that kind of functionality or that kind of design in there. Did you have it and I just missed it, or
yeah, you can say that that's the part of the collaboration style, right? And also it's reflected in the persona. So they were not presented right now because we are still working on it, but we are defining what are the personality types, and based on those we will create different zones in the workplace. Yeah, we will add this, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Amazing. So let's go maybe with the next presentation. And again, I know that for these projects, there has been work that has been already completed, but it's very, very important for the project Catalyst to explain to the community why this project is important to them, why they started this project in the first place. And, we can share the presentations afterwards as well, but it's very, very important that the community understand this for them to gravitate and resonate with the initiative and join it. Right, so let's go to the next one here, which is basically, we go to the next three. Let's go with the project Measuring Success by Jane Storha. Jane, are you there?
I am, but for some reason, I can't share my screen.
Yeah, I had to make you a co-host. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Do you see it now?
We see the iPhone screen. Okay, now we see it.
Okay.
I'll go to the first slide though.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now you should see it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. So my project is called Measuring Success in a Network First. So basically what we're going to try to do, we will try to collectively create a framework that will help us to measure collective indicators that would lead to project outcomes based on network principles. A little bit about the background and why I created the project. I was creating exploratory research in MOBA games. What are MOBA games? Those are games that are played in a real time with the real people within the teams in order to compete with each other. And one of the main goals for game designers is to increase player retention. What means player retention? It means that I want to increase the time players are spending inside my platform and also returning, playing more and more games. And one of the ways how they try to achieve that is to manipulate game outcomes. So I put players deliberately in a games that 2 times loses and once win. And how they do this? They manipulate formal ranks within the games. And my research was created based on hypothesis that it's not only around the ranks, but also our intrinsic motivation. So this was my framework that I use on how I measure success. In this project, we will create our own framework. So I was creating a team flow. I also use intrinsic motivation framework based on player taxonomies. So I created 2 types of the team dynamics. One was a balanced team where intrinsic motivations were evenly distributed across players. And I also created clashing player types. So the players that were playing the game just to have fun versus players that were playing the games to achieve certain results. And I look on the results, what would happen? So the results that I got from this research was that even though the rank difference, the formal rank difference was almost half per player compared to the other team, they either played out equally, or if they played against the unbalanced team, they won the game. Whereas unbalanced teams either won or lose each other, or they lost the balanced team. This was exploratory research, but it made me to rethink on how this kind of system is also applied in a workplace culture and how much we pay attention to the individual skills versus how much we pay attention on collaboration as a whole and what matters at the end of the day. So these were kind of rhetorical questions that I ask myself. And in this project, we will have to create a similar framework. We will have to create our own experiment design. And we will also need to pick the game that we will want to play together and measure these metrics that we will create. That's shortly about my project. Before I ended, I actually wanted to ask you, can you draw certain parallels about gaming environments and workplace cultures? Did anything from this research resonated also in the workplace culture for you?
Thank you, Jane. And that yes. Do you want us to go through have you finished the presentation, or do you want to to answer the question?
Yeah, I finished. I asked this question. Maybe you.
Perfect. Yeah, lots of reactions here from the community. So who wants to answer to Jane? So you can see different type of project, because she's actually going to start now with the meetings for this project. There haven't been previous sessions, but yeah, great job explaining the background. I personally have to say that I've always been intrigued by the movement of decentralization that took place in the gaming industry, as well as in the IT community with, for example, the decentralized autonomous organizations on blockchain. And we are using some elements of blockchain in the community. But I don't know if many of us have had as much of a deeper dive on the gaming community as yourself. I'm super interested in learning more about these parallels. Does anybody have any questions or any comments for Jane? And it says definitely makes sense.
One comment I have, and this is the first time I've seen this, so great stuff. But the one comment I have is that work scenarios versus gaming scenarios. I'm thinking that the roles that people play or the mindset that people employ are typically based on the situation they're in, the project they're in, and I'm wondering how that maps over to gaming. So that'll be
Yeah.
a fun. Yep.
Yeah, that's why I also wanted to ask this question at the end, if you can draw a certain parallels, and it will all matter of what kind of metrics we will define ourselves. So that was just my personal project.
Yep.
But myself, I draw parallels with toxicity and flaming. What happens when we put people with conflicting motivations inside the same team? And also we work so many times cross-functionally. And what for the company matters, it's more like a collective success of the project rather my individual performance. And we mostly measure only individual performance. So those are the correlations that I found myself.
Yep.
Zane, I love what you're sharing here. And I've been fortunate to hear you talk about this in other projects. One of the things that comes to mind, I think of the formation of the team, right? The formation of the team that happens in a workplace versus the gaming environment. Is it the same, right? Because if we think about the stages of formation we go through, I'm curious to know how well those relate to each other. Because I think there may be some more independence potentially to look into around, gaming versus the workplace. Right? I think we have a lot more autonomy potentially, but there's probably some factors in there or constructs regarding agency, right, that are different across the two that I'd be really curious about. So just something as you were sharing it, I was kind of asking myself some questions.
Yeah. These are kind of rhetorical questions that would be interesting to discuss. Yeah.
Amazing. There are actually some of the members are requesting if the project catalyst can drop their LinkedIn on the comments so you can connect online. That would be a good way as well to learn more about the project. So please, when you complete the presentation, feel free, or those of you that have already presented, feel free to drop your LinkedIn on the comments. Perfect. Well, thanks, Jane. Great project, and looking forward to seeing the sessions, and maybe we can move forward to the next one. By the way, I love how global this group of project catalysts is. So Ivana is joining from Canada, Belen from Spain, Katerina, she's from Slovakia originally, but joining from Palo Alto. Jana is joining from Latvia, and now we have Micheline joining from Brooklyn, New York. So Micheline, I'm gonna make you a co-host, and you should be able to share whenever you're ready. Let me see if I find you. Are you there? Cannot see you. Oh yeah, I can see you now. So yeah, I love to see that some of you are already using the the Zoom background. Please, we have the link to download it on the chat. So if any of you wants to save it for today or for future meetings, you got it there. Great. Should be able to share now, Micheline, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hey. All right, can everyone see my screen? Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Network First members all across the globe. I'm Micheline. I'm actually not the project lead for Network First events, but I'm a team member. Francisco is actually the project lead, and he has graciously selected to present on behalf of the collective. So just high level on what on earth we're doing within the Network First Events Project Collective. Well, we're working on events that will bring folks together to build belonging, share knowledge, and drive collaboration. So to what Francisco was mentioning at the top of this town hall, last year, last August, Network First had its ratification event back in August of last year, where folks, developed the purpose, manifesto, vision, direction of where NFM will go. So our first project is actually developing an annual summit. So Network First Annual Summit will take place this August 2026. So get excited, start marking your calendars already. Marking the first global gathering of the Network First community. And super exciting, last year, Network First met collectively in one city in San Francisco, and now there will be 4 hubs for the first annual summit to take place. So that will be San Francisco, Sao Paulo, Budapest, and Mexico City. So something to get really riled up about. Feel free to throw some reactions in the chat for that. So the summit will be bringing together founding members, new members, and partners from all across the world to celebrate the progress of the collective, share insights across all of the amazing projects being executed across and co-creating the Network First movement. So where are we at right now? So we've got a little bit of a ways to go, but we're just at the beginning. We're in the early conception stages where we are solidifying the purpose, strategy, locations, and content for the summit. So this is actually an amazing time. If you want to get involved, get your hands dirty, or just contribute ideas. This is the perfect time to do that right now. And then we'll be moving forward into various planning stages of the annual summits. So there are a few ways to contribute, and we really want to deliver a meaningful experience that all of you find valuable. So for that to happen, we would love your input and contribution. So a few ways to do that. If you want to get activated already, we have our Slack teams. We already have 33 members within the project, so participating in various degrees. So some folks are chiming in asynchronously on project documentation that we have. Others are joining our weekly meetings on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to contribute their thoughts and insights for the annual summit. You can contribute session ideas through Slack. So, or even right now, while we're live, you could drop your ideas for conversations, topics that you would love to see. So like I mentioned, we are, early, content planning. So we are still working to solidify the content plan for the annual summit. So if you have contributions that you would love to make, feel free to ping San Francisco, myself, other members of the activation squad, and watch Slack for polls to vote on session content as well. But you're here right now, so feel free, drop in what you'd like to see at the summit. And then keep your eyes peeled for volunteer opportunities across your cities, because we would definitely need hands on site for the 4 locations that we do have. So if you are excited or plan on going to any of those locations in August of this year, please keep us looped and feel free to reach out to anyone. So yeah, that is my wrap. And thanks everyone. Excited.
Thank you, Micheline. Thank you for the presentation. And yeah, it's important to mention as well. So we've been having super interesting conversations about the annual summit that will take place on August 13 this year. But also actually this project, Network First Events, is the origin of today's Network Convergence session, right? So basically the idea is that any community events that will happen on a regular basis will originate from this project. And if anybody wants to be part of it, again, we've dropped the link so you can be part of that process of organization and crafting those ideas. So does anybody have any questions or comments or feedback for Micheline?
Yes, feel free to.
I dropped this comment in the chat, but I was curious if there's already a plan for project catalysts to connect with the events that are happening, or if that's been discussed as part of the agenda. And maybe just today's convergence is like an opportunity to make that connection too.
Yeah, so I think absolutely the latter point that you just mentioned. I mean, we definitely plan to include, all the projects, all the rich projects that are being worked on, and opportunities for those projects to be showcased and, continue knowledge sharing. But absolutely, definitely see.
Yeah. And as you might have seen, we set up a private hub for Project Catalyst to share best practices and see what's working, what's not working. Again, this model is not perfect, but just if you consider that all these projects that are being shared happen by people that have come proactively in a decentralized way and voted everything like this, really challenging and difficult to achieve, right? So thank you all for your patience and support as we've gone through these models. Any other questions for Micheline? Any comments?
I'll just reemphasize to the collective, feel free, drop, ideas or things that you would love to see. You really would welcome input. If there's anything that you are exceptionally excited about or things that you're curious about, that you're learning, across Network First that you want to dive deeper on, or things, larger trends that you're seeing in the world that you would love to touch upon. Submit. Plural. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, Micheline. And please feel free to drop your LinkedIn as well in case anybody wants to connect with you separately to learn more about the project. And you got the link to join there. So we're only 5 minutes behind schedule, which is not that bad. So let's go to the last presentation for the projects with its Network First Poetics, led by Sara de Souza, joining us from Portugal. So Sara, let me find you over here and let me make you a co-host. You should be good to share.
All right.
We can see your screen. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. I'm Sara de Souza. I'm the project catalyst for Network First Poetics. And just to introduce myself a little bit to the network here, I'm many things, but the things that I identify as that led me to propose this project to the network are poet, psychologist, and linguophile. And various combinations of those things are things I do professionally, but I do some other things professionally too. But, really kind of taking Francisco's lead on proposing a project that was something I'm extremely passionate about, that is what led to this project proposal. And what I'm paying particular attention to is how language shapes systems, how language shapes our understanding of ourselves and the world. And it's language that actually drew me into the Network First Manifesto. I found it rather by accident, somehow through, some rabbit hole on LinkedIn. And I saw the term network first, and that was already a surprising and fresh term that sparked my curiosity. And then I read the manifesto, and in that manifesto, there was language like collaborative freedom. And I'm suddenly asking myself, what does that mean? And what would it, I'm also kind of a futurist and someone who thinks a lot about the future of work. So this was all fascinating to me. And it really became apparent to me as I was reading the project proposals at the time that there's also a risk of importing the old paradigm into the new paradigm, even as we're creating it, if we're not paying very careful attention to the language that we're using. So that's really the why behind this project, is that in order for us to create a new paradigm collectively, we also need to collectively agree to new language that we're using. And so you're already starting to see some of the product of our project, which is folks like myself referring to ourselves as project catalysts rather than project leads, but even noticing that, we're in transition. So some folks are still using project lead, and it's a process of adoption of the new language. Even this network convergence, we only proposed this term last week in our weekly meeting, that we wanted to avoid the term all hands because we felt that it imported certain hierarchy first assumptions in terms of how folks passively engage with the information that's presented, who calls the meeting, what the purpose of the meeting is. And so even this, calling this the convergence, is an experiment in new language that we're running in real time today. And so in terms of what our phase one of our project is, and I'll just say, since this is something that someone asked of another project, I do see this as something that's, almost never ending, right? It's going to be an ongoing process of how this language evolves. I don't know that I will always be identified as the catalyst for this project. We'll see. But at least for phase one, the work product that we're creating is a living and shared glossary for the Network First Manifesto website, where we have a process of debating and dialoguing around the terminology that we're using, and then publishing that to a glossary that everyone can see. And it's already live. So it's on the Network First Manifesto website. Francisco's already added a new tab to the menu that says glossary. And you can read there the definitions that we as a group have shaped for the new terms that we're introducing. So for example, this is just a part of the project catalyst definition, but the idea that in a network first paradigm, a project catalyst is the person who initiates and stewards a shared body of work without defaulting to hierarchy first assumptions. Rather than directing people or assigning tasks, the catalyst builds the container for collaboration, clarifying intent, articulating the shared North Star, tending the conditions that allow diverse contributors to move together with coherence. So it invites us all to, reflect on that language and then reflect on the role that we're inhabiting when we use that term to describe ourselves. How we're working is that to generate kind of the first iteration of the Network First glossary, we've identified a 10-week meeting arc that we've all committed to. And that happens on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm based in Western Europe, so it's evening for me now, evening for me when these calls happen. But there's different ways to engage. We have the meetings, as Francisco's been talking about, right? And this was intentional in the way I designed the group's interaction in the container as the container steward. Another way I think of myself is to try to make it easy for folks to engage with this work, because I think we're actually all de facto engaging in this work, right? And so we have the meetings, which is a kind of space where we have a core group of folks that show up every meeting, but also folks can show up for a meeting without committing to all 10 and contributing to that work. The way that I lead the agenda is we do a grounding exercise together. We do introductions if need be, and then we dialogue about a term that I've offered as the focus for that session. And then we also have a shared doc where if you're not available for that meeting time and you're not a Slack user, you can join our Google Doc and you can drop comments there to, offer fresh ideas, offer perspectives, offer reactions to the terminology as it's evolving. The other thing that I think is happening in parallel is all of us project catalysts are leading the first projects for the network, is that we're experimenting with what network first project process even is, right? And so a process that I wanted to highlight that's evolving in our group's work is the process of dialoguing in a meeting, and then a member, right now it's primarily me as the project catalyst, synthesizing the group's work, presenting it back to the group to seek consensus, experimenting with different ways to measure consensus, and then deploying the terminology through sharing it through the glossary, but also, Francisco already called this meeting as a convergence, and we're calling ourselves project catalysts, and we're experimenting with the language in the wild, and that's deploying it. But, I couldn't figure out fast enough for this meeting today how to make all these words into a cycle, but I see them as a feedback loop, right? And so that's what we're doing in the group for at least the next 7 weeks. And then I just want to invite you all to join us, because it's a lot of fun and there's lots of ways to join. And as Francisco's been saying, I'll share my LinkedIn profile in the chat once I'm done here. And we welcome everyone's perspective on how the language of this movement speaks to them, what assumptions it implies or, invokes, and how their relationship to the movement is evolving through the words that we use to describe the new paradigm. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sarah. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite projects. We meet and we pick up specific term and we discuss potential alternatives. And sometimes we fight with each other because some of us, we love or hate the options that are being proposed. And I think this is a super important initiative, because when you look at, for example, agile methodologies, or when you look at other movements that have reshaped the future of work. It all started really with redefining some of the terms. Because, say, for example, the meeting we have today, right, is really different than a traditional all hands meetings, right? Because it's completely centralized. We're discussing decentralized initiatives, decentralized proposals. So if we use the old nomenclature, sometimes that has people have negative connotations based on previous experiences. So does anybody have any questions or comments to Sarah? And would also love to hear like, what do you think when we use these terms like project catalyst or network convergence? What sensations evoke in you? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, Donna has a question.
Not so much a question, more an observation. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing because it honors the work of Umberto Maturana, and it's the whole business of language holding consciousness. And also within that, if we understand that, then of course we can uplift just using the language energetically, the understanding that goes with the terminology. And I think that alone is just flat brilliant and very a huge relief in many ways. I mean, we went through this when we were looking at the new forms of management with words like management, and somebody would still insist on using management, but to most of us it means control. It doesn't mean being a buffer. It doesn't mean a whole lot of things. And there's certain associations that are hardwired, which is why it's so challenging to bring in new language. So anyway, that's just my thank you.
And as you're saying that, Donna, I'm thinking about why the glossary emerged to me as an important first step toward evolving this new nomenclature, shared language, et cetera, was not just to throw a term out to the network and start using it, but rather to bring some definition to it, to actually co-create the shared understanding of what the terminology means. Because I find it's been my experience that in a lot of workplaces, there might be a few people who understand what kind of the new lingo means, but it doesn't always trickle down. It doesn't always permeate, the entire org. And so then there's why are we calling this customer success now and not, whatever it was before? And somebody made that decision, but not everyone understands the why. And so we're trying to bring greater visibility, greater transparency, greater attention to the language that we're using, but doing it in an inclusive and collective way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And the other part of it is that there's a huge temptation in our world today to co-opt language and then use it weaponize it essentially. And so, that's why I think this time, like organizations that have any kind of emotional depth and maturity can work with new language. But organizations that haven't thought about that or aren't paying attention to how they're using language are the ones that are going to struggle because they're the ones that are most habitually, hanging on to the old paradigm. And they'll use the new language to pretend they've shifted, but they haven't done a thing in terms of their mentality. So anyway, thank you.
Beautifully said. I couldn't agree with you more.
Amazing. Well, we have a couple more questions and then we'll go to the breakout rooms, right? So we can connect with each other, and also we'll have a Miro will be shared by Miguel here. So, we can also add our inputs on things that are working, areas for improvement, etc. So maybe Ileana, do you get a question as well?
Yes. I have to say that it's a privilege to work with such brilliant gentlemen like Francisco, Miguel, Nico, etc., etc. But I'm so happy seeing so many women being so active, so involved, and so truly leaving their mark on this project. Incredible. While we make a fantastic team together, I really want to take a moment to celebrate all the women who are joining this narrative every single day. I just had to put this on the table because I'm so happy to see beautiful ladies.
So it's a good point, Ileana. The six presentations today are all of them completed by female members. So, guys, we have to catch up a little bit as well, right? Hopefully now we'll have some proposals from male members as well. But yeah, amazing work to all the project catalysts. Thank you, Ileana, and looking forward to your proposal as well. And Yuseli, you had a question as well or comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Francisco. Yes, thank you, Sarah, for the presentation. And I'm going to tap into Donna, your really insightful comments, because the question that I have is, language is, there is a tendency to weaponize or to try to manipulate with definitions, right? But language as a representation of culture, or as you said, Donna, the as consciousness, right, is also a co-creation. So how are you planning, Sarah, to incorporate that, the dynamic nature of language? Because even as we define it now as a glossary, the world keeps evolving, and then we may have a different response to those. So what's the plan in that sense for the project?
Yeah, so I sort of see it as a balance in the same way that, balancing collaborative demand or balancing stability and momentum are these kind of spectrums of experience that we're trying to balance. So language is alive, is living, is evolving. As I kind of said during the presentation, we're all de facto doing this work, whether we're active participants in the project or not, because we're using language to describe what we're doing with Network First Manifesto every time we engage. So there's a sense in which I see it as almost just naming something that we're doing and trying to create a container where we can do it more intentionally and more consciously. And then there's also, it's tied to kind of a practical reality. So when it comes to publishing definitions on a glossary, I don't want to create an unsustainable amount of work for Francisco, who's managing translating that to a space where everyone can see it by making it this incredibly iterative process. But that's why there's a shared doc, and that's why there's an evolving process of dialoguing, testing, synthesizing the input that I receive as the holder of the container, and then presenting it as something that's more coherent and more stable for us to test. But it's going to be an ongoing evolution, right? It's going to evolve. And I think we'll find that throughout the life cycle of Network First, however it evolves, we're going to want to update the glossary. Maybe the glossary will become more complete. Maybe certain terms will need to evolve. So that's why I don't see this particular project as one that has like a really static start and end date. I've defined it as a phase one. Just creating the glossary as a place that we can all land and look at the language together is the phase one. But there are other phases that we've already discussed the possibility of. And I can see lots of directions that this project could go.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. There's a last comment from Joe before we go to the breakout rooms.
Yeah, sure. If I can just share my own summing up of that is basically language as connected to a stated principle. So we have the principle that's guiding Network First, and we're developing a glossary that connects the language to that principle. So we're being inundated with marketing speak. So we're used to language being weaponized for the purpose of selling something. So this is the radical innovation that we're making. That's how I see it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Much of the stuff that we do is not that we do things differently, but it's about the intention we put into it, right? Because again, like these frameworks that are emerging, that we're creating, can still use for evil purposes or for purposes that are not honest, right? But I really appreciate that all the people that have been engaging with the community so far have come with such good faith and such energy and such enthusiasm, such patience as well, because some of the frameworks that we use, especially early on, are not still perfect. There is a lot of manual work involved, right? But it's beautiful to see really these things emerge in such decentralized manner. So now basically for the next section, the plan is to have a number of breakout rooms. Please bear in mind, it's the first time in my life that I'm using breakout rooms, so don't hate me if I break something. I'll do my best here, touching the buttons of Zoom. But Miguel here has put together a Miro board that I wanted to share with all of you. Again, like the idea is to put the breakout rooms for 30 minutes with a group of 5 to 8 people. And feel free to use the Miro board, feel free to just network, whatever you want to do. And then like in the last section of the Network Convergence, we'll have an open discussion. We'll share the Miro with your input, but also we can talk about anything you want to talk.
Just let me take
Yeah.
5 minutes to explain
Exactly.
the board and the idea. And funny how things are, and we haven't rehearsed or seen each other's presentation, but I'm loving the convergence that we have on the views. So basically, what I'm proposing here in a very open way, and we'll keep that open, is to work in a SOAR matrix. I don't know if you're familiar with the matrix. This is a matrix that was born from an appreciative inquiry. That it's a methodology that was created by David Copywriter, but funny enough, importantly enough, this matrix was created by Jackie Stravos, a lady that was a disciple of David Copywriter. And the idea is to bring what is best in us. It's quite different from the SOAR matrix, from the SWOT matrix, because we're leaving out threats and gaps. Because when you talk about the brain, and the words matter here, as Sarah mentioned earlier, when you talk about the brain, when you put threats and gaps when discussing what we want to build, we restrain ourselves. We don't have the openness to collaborate, to see the complementarity in each other. So basically, what I set up were four key questions that feel free to answer. The Miro will be open here. I think Francisco just put the link on the chat.
Yeah.
First one, strengths. What make us great? What is one time you felt truly supported or connected in this community? And since most of you are just joining the community, what made you join the community? What did you see in strengths in the community? The other one is aspirations. What is our dream? So in this community, if this community became the best place in the world to build trust, human connection, and collaborative freedom, what would that look like for you? And that's enough post-it. I put a lot of post-its for everyone to write, and feel free to write. And the other one, and what is great about this, that's it invites us to look inside what we have great, what we aspire, what we want to be, and then we look outwards to the opportunities where we can generate value from what we want to build, and what is one human problem that we could solve better together than alone as a community. That's one of the questions that I put here. And the results, what we will achieve 1 year from now, what creates a celebration moment for us. What is great about this model is that it's 6 convergences, and it's different from the SWOT model, that it leads to comparison. You have to compare with competitors, with other communities. So the idea here is to bring all the voices together that we have here in this moment. Feel free to connect, to chat, and answer the questions, and afterwards we will do a wrap up of the experience. But it's way lighter and level ups the energy on discussing future instead of putting gaps and threats on the discussion. So how do we deal with threats and gaps in this model? Reverse engineering what we want to achieve, what they have to solve. It's like more reverse engineering on dealing with gaps and threats instead of putting all the threats, because if you work in the corporate model, things are top down. The gaps and the threats have names, and you name people, and people are restrained to contribute. So feel free to contribute here, and I think that Francisco will open the rooms. My suggestion is that you pick one of the questions and choose as a group to answer one of the questions, because we don't have a lot of time to discuss all of the 4 questions, and we'll keep it open for the next network convergence meeting.
Yeah, let's. I see that people are gravitating around like already like different stickers. So let's just keep it open and loose. It's time not to put like too much structure, right? I mean, we're going to create 7 breakout rooms, 5, 6 participants per room. Again, feel free to work on Miro. Feel free to network. The Miro will be open after the session. But thanks, Miguel, a lot for putting this together, and with no further delay. Oh, by the way, just one last comment. I appreciate a lot that we're keeping a non-commercial tone today, right? So I didn't even have to give a reminder, like, please let's avoid sharing company names or logos or description of services, but you are all doing amazing work so far. So let's just keep that in the breakout rooms as well. And with no delay, let's go for it. So these are configure and open all rooms. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was the experience with the breakout rooms?
Great.
You like it?
Terrific. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
make sure to allocate more time for the breakout rooms next time, but it's the first network convergence. And
It's a nice balance. It's good.
try to make sure that we give an opportunity to members to uh, share the proposals they have submitted.
Right, for sure. Katerina, thank you for the background. Obviously, I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
And I actually figured out how to do it, so I'm very proud of myself.
You flip it horizontally even, like amazing.
And we're back.
Yep.
We're back.
We
Guys.
could have doubled that time too. We were
Yes.
I know.
Yep.
So guys, apologies for keeping short the breakout room time. I just wanted to make sure that we give an opportunity to members that have submitted proposals to defend them in front of the community before wrapping up so that we can cast the vote on them. Sorry, I completely forgot about that item on the agenda, just to make sure that next network convergence, we allocate at least 30 uninterrupted minutes for breakout rooms, right? So again, I just share on the, I just shared on the chat the link to join and cast your votes. And what we're going to do basically is we're going to give an opportunity for any founding member that submitted a proposal to defend it now within 1-2 minutes and give the overall idea. And that way you can go and vote for the initiatives. This is how the proposal page look like. And again, you got the link on the chat. Okay, so maybe I'm going to. I have submitted 3 of these proposals. I'm going to fly through mine, and then we'll go with the remaining as soon as possible. So, one of the proposals I submitted is the Network First Company Pilot. The main idea for this proposal is to actually have companies of 25 people or more volunteering to redesign their operations in a network first way, whether it is sales, marketing, finance, HR. These companies are going to be open, and basically we're going to redesign their operations to document an actual case study on how a company adopts a network first methodology. And the other 2 are not really projects, are just small actions. So one of them is to change the title for new members from founding member to member, because some of new members have shared that the title founding member is a bit intimidating because we already have a certain level of traction, and they are a bit concerned about claiming to be a founding member when we've been working on this for months. So maybe changing it to member can make the transition a little bit easier. And the other action is about archiving inactive projects to maintain clarity. So if a project channel has not been active for the last 30 days, we just archive it. And if the project catalyst is in a situation where they can resume the project and they make the commitment, we can reactivate it. But that way we make sure that all the projects that are available to join are having activity on a regular basis. Maybe Nathaniel, do you want to share any information about your proposal visions from the network?
Sure. I just needed to unmute myself. I'm just trying to look for ways to launch a podcast that resonates with people and supports this community and the vision of the future that we all see. And it really stems from 2014 when I sat at an IBM roundtable on the future of work. And it goes through that. I'm going to post a video explaining, because I know we're a bit short on time, but I'll be happy to sort of take any questions. At the moment, I'm sort of just looking to kind of get this going so that I can engage some more people from the community and tell the story really and tell people's stories. So
perfect. Super exciting proposal, Nathan. Thanks for sharing. Looking forward to your video as well. And you have it here basically to vote for it, as you can see. I'm going to actually share the specific link to Nathan's proposal so you see exactly which one it is. So if you join with that link, you will see Nathan's proposal highlighted. Thanks, Nathan. Let's go with the next one. See if we can, if I can move this. Okay, somehow it's stuck. So let me just share again. Okay, so next one, book group. I think that's by Robert. Robert, can you unmute yourself?
Thanks, Francisco. I've been thinking a lot about the mental state that we enter into when spending too much time on social media. And I think it's a pretty bad collaboration environment, hence an interest in Network First. And I've been thinking about the other types of mental spaces we might enter into when going for a walk or reading a book. One of the authors that's inspired me recently is a guy called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book on flow, which is the experience of optimal life experience, optimal mental experience. And we enter into flow when we get immersed into books. Books offer a great environment in which our brains can really become attuned and focus on the specific subject matter of the book. We all know that book clubs in sort of local areas are a great way to bring people together, but they're often around fictional books. But the way people read non-fiction is a little bit different from the way we read fiction. My experience is that every so often some idea or issue is bugging me, and then I realize there's a book about it, and that book sort of solves the problem. It kind of helps to unlock my thinking around a specific issue. So the idea of book group is to have kind of informal conversations that are oriented around a single book. You don't have to have read it, although it's helpful if you have read it. If it's a book you want to read, then please come to a session. If it's a book you're reading right now or that you read a year ago, also do come to this session and just have an informal chat about the book, what it was that made you want to read it, and share some stories in relation to the book to help process some of the content in the book. I think it's quite an easy way to bring people together into an interesting meeting like-minded people around the context of a book. And if you'd like to have a go, I suggest some of the initial books we might try out should be focused on areas relevant to Network First. So things that analyze our current social media environment, but also books around collaboration and innovation that are relevant to some of the themes that we're exploring here at Network First.
I love it, Robert. Super excited for this proposal to get ratified and to join the group. I think it's a great idea. Thank you very much for sharing. And I've shared the link to vote for Robert's proposal, book group, on the chat, so you can find it there. Let's go with the next one. Build a shared synthetic ONA database. I believe that's one is from Curtis, right? Curtis, are you around? I don't know if Curtis is around, but I was discussing with him about this particular proposal. And let's just go through the definition. Basically, we live in the AI age with tools that help us create synthetic data. So why not put them to good use and share these synthetic assets with the wider world? The vision here is to tap LLMs, superpower, to build millions of nodes and edges. We can bake in a variety of organizational network analysis patterns that we all know, both positive and negative org design patterns, into this reference system. Why do this? We can all test our new ideas for apps and systemic interventions against this reference system. Très cool. That's very Curtis. So yeah, I think this is a super interesting project. And I know that there are many people in the community that are very passionate about organizational network analysis, and even some companies that have a lot of existing data that can be anonymized and put to good use. So yeah, you got it there. I'm going to share the link here, vote for Curtis.
Could I just add to Curtis for a second? Sure. He's probably one of the most innovative thinkers I know, and so although this may look kind of dry, it's got a highly creative edge to it. So he's also a musician. There's a lot of the people in the ONA network, so which is I'm jealous about, I should add.
Yes, I have the opportunity to interact with Curtis as part of the Network First Poetic Project, and he's super fun to work with. Yeah, I'll ask him to create a video as well to share with the community.
Yeah, Francisco, some people have troubles voting. I don't know if you saw in the comments, so they cannot really join.
Okay, just please consider here that you have to use the email that you use to sign up, the work email they use to sign up for the Network First Manifesto. That's the email that you use to bypass the the authentication step. Does that make sense? So please try again. Also consider that you, even if you can access, you will not be able to vote for the proposal if you join after the proposal was submitted. So we'll have to wait until the next wave. It's not an ideal setup, I know, but there is a blockchain technology in the background that sets some limitations. So sorry for the inconvenience, but please make sure to use the work email, not the personal one. Let's maybe go, and if you have any issues, just reach out to me separately on LinkedIn or email, and we can look at it together. Let's go with viral cartography and interactive mapping of biological and organizational vitality by Donna.
So I'll start with the inspiration on this. I keep experimenting with how to frame it because it sounds very lofty and conceptual, and it is at the moment, but the intention is to put it into play at a very practical decision-making level, both personally and organizationally. I have written nonfiction books, and I thought I wanted to do something that would be really artistic. And so when I saw Terence McKenna's quote, "The artist's task is to save the soul of mankind, and anything less is dithering while Rome burns," I thought, okay, let's try something radically interactive that would illustrate the relationship between human body systems, well-being, in other words, and organizational systems. So in other words, the fractal aspect of that. So the inspiration started in COVID when I discovered people say, oh, okay, we've got a nervous system, but why is there some negative effects when you get a vaccine? What happens? So the assumption was none of these systems interact. We look at each of them and go, but they don't interact. And so idea behind vital cartography is to demonstrate how these systems interact and work for or against vitality. Somehow or other bring in the epigenetics of it, the context, and how that affects, what does fear do, and so forth. But it is to take these. I tried doing a mock-up on AI, and that was an epic fail, so I've got to still work on that. But it's the idea of just thinking through how might we take the purpose of each of these systems and illustrate from a, maybe it's an interactive thing where you push a button and poof, these systems light up, and then you introduce an outside variable coming from the environment or your thought process. And what does that do? How do these systems interact? Could be an emotion that starts up like fear. I need to protect myself. So what does that ignite in your interaction between your nervous system and everything else? That's the idea behind this. So this stage is concept development and just sort of looking for what's the best way of expressing it. I did think of a book because of, that's an easy method or medium, but I'm not real sure that they're having the transformative effect that I'm hoping this one would. So that's the idea.
Thank you, Donna. I love the idea of rethinking what it means to be human as a network, right? So it's gonna be an opportunity to have amazing discussions. I love it, and I've shared the link there. I've already gone through the Network First company pilot. I think we just have the last one. We have only 1 minute left. So Jaya or Miralem, do you want to share the proposal for passive organizational network analysis?
Yeah. Miriam, is it okay if I go ahead? I guess so. So let me just talk as fast as I can. I don't know if I can beat you, Francisco, but I'll try. So we are creating a passive organization network analysis, and this is really a direct continuation of our initial active ONA project. So in this case, what we'll do is we will transition from using static survey and snapshots to real-time persistent analysis of Slack and project level interactions. And this is because we are hoping to get a data-driven map of knowledge flow and hidden influences as to how work is being done or in an organization and so on. And because as you all know, it's easy for silos to form, for hidden influences to go unrecognized. So we want to make sure that these data insights will actually ensure our governance and remains inclusive, and our members remain engaged without experiencing burnout. And there are a few methods that we'll use to do this, basically identifying the influence is not overly concentrated in one place, basically decentralization, and then using community strength and proactive resilience and also address water apathy. So that's in a nutshell. You can read, we will actually put up more information about that. Haven't really worked too much on it, but because of the time constraint now, I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you very much, Jaya. And we'll wrap it up with that. So thank you, everyone, for joining the Network Convergence. Remember, we'll have these events on a monthly basis. The next Network Convergence will be on February 9th. So I hope that you enjoy it. Let's iterate the model together. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you next month. Bye for now.
Great talking.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.